Hey everybody, it's your boy Marcus Storman from Gentleman Style Podcast, your host to the #1 podcast coming to you live in America. And today we have a very incredible show. We have a very special guest, and you all are in for a treat. Whether you're in real estate investing or different types of passive income investing, you are in for a treat. This show is going to be dynamic, and I hope it serves you. I know it's going to serve me, and we are going to grow together in this industry. Here we go. Hey everybody, it's Marcus Norman from Gentleman Style Podcast, your host of the #1 podcast, coming to you live in America. And today we have the incredible Mr. Nick McCullum, and he is here to change the absolute game for us. This is a platform, a platform that he and his partners have created called Passiv. Passiv is a portfolio management software used by thousands of people that connects directly to your existing brokerage account. And so this is a unique platform because it helps you save and invest and keeps your investments on track and guided so that you are getting the biggest bang for your buck. The Passiv allows you to set a target portfolio and get even email notifications when your portfolio drifts from the target. And so today we have CEO, co-founder, Mr. Nick McCullum coming to the stage live on Gentleman Style Podcast platform today. Please welcome him. Yay, Mr. Nick McCullum.
Hi, Marcus. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you to the show. Thank you to the platform, sir. Thank you for joining us on Gentleman Style Podcast. And we appreciate you coming out today. Tell us, Mr. Nick. I feel like there's a story here. What is Passiv?
Absolutely. So let's dive in, I guess. I'll start by saying you introduced me as co-founder, CEO. Those titles actually, neither of those belong to me. I'll tell you the story of the people who are our co-founders. Their names are both Brendan. Brendan and Brendan kind of had problems, with investing, and there's lots of complications that come with investing. It's a sophisticated field. So I'll tell you about how Passiv got started in the early days and then how we've grown as a company and what we do now. So the original prototype of Passiv was basically a simple Python script that connected to Brendan's brokerage account, read what was in his account, and compared it to where he wanted to be with his investments. Then it printed out a list of trades that he could do, buyers or sells, to get him closely aligned to what he wanted in terms of where he wanted to be in his portfolio. So Brendan told some of his friends and family about that kind of prototype, and that's how the initial prototype of Passiv got started. Passiv works with many different brokerages, and the way that it works is that you connect your Passiv account directly to your brokerage account. Once that's done, you can set a target portfolio within your brokerage, and Passiv compares your actual portfolio to your target portfolio, and then does all of the legwork that's required to figure out what trades you need to perform to get invested directly in your target portfolio. Once that's done, Passiv allows you to rebalance with one click and sends the trades off to your brokerage to be executed, gets back the trades confirmations, and just like that, with a one-click trade, you're actually invested in your target portfolio. After that's done, Passiv kind of periodically monitors your account, and whenever you need to make more trades to get reinvested in your target portfolio, reinvested in your target portfolio, Passiv will send you an email that prompts you to log in and rebalance again using our one-click trade functionality.
Absolutely. So is there any kind of AI technology involved in this system?
That's a question that we get a lot, actually. And Passiv doesn't use any artificial intelligence. Instead, it's really just some rudimentary math. Tells you, okay, here's what you need to buy or sell to be closely aligned with your target portfolio. It's basically addition and subtraction.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And so Passiv is a platform that helps you keep your target investment and you link it to your existing trade accounts. Who is Passiv for, or who does it help? Who does this platform help the most that you've seen?
Our typical users of Passiv are high earning professionals who are earning money and want to invest it, but don't necessarily have the time or the desire to handhold a portfolio along the way. So we have a lot of users who are software developers. We have users who are lawyers, doctors, and kind of more traditional white collar people who earn money, want to invest it, but don't want to spend a bunch of time on their investments.
Absolutely. So high net worth, high earners, people who don't have the time to sit and manage their investments themselves. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, that's basically the broad summary of our user base.
So I've tried to look everywhere and I can't find this anywhere, but I don't think you have very much competitors in this industry. But what sets passive apart from other types of traditional products or services like I don't know, robo advisors or Robinhood, or what sets you guys apart from the rest?
Yeah, we get the question a lot of kind of who's your main competitor. And it's funny because, to be honest with you, I don't really know of any other companies that do exactly what Passive does. I would say that our main competitor is Microsoft Excel. People who want to invest in a diversified portfolio of stocks or ETFs, and they have a specific allocation that they want to be invested in, usually the way that they would calculate what to buy or sell is through some sort of Microsoft Excel or other spreadsheet templates. So that's kind of interesting. More broadly, Passive is basically one way that you can use your existing brokerage account to build your own robo advisory service. So you mentioned robo advisors, some of the big ones, Wealthfront, those kinds of names. The main differences between Passive and an actual robo advisor, I would say there's two differences. The first difference is that Passive is kind of platform agnostic. So you can hold your investments that you want kind of at multiple different places that Passive is integrated with, and you don't actually have to move your money to use Passive. So down in the US, we're kind of integrated with TD Ameritrade and Interactive Brokers. And if you wanted to start using Passive to manage your investments, you wouldn't have to move your money away from those brokerages. Instead, Passive links to them directly, and you don't actually have to sell or transfer any funds. So that's one difference, is that you don't have to move your money to use Passive. Another difference is that Passive doesn't actually execute your trades for you. So if you were to use a proper robo advisory, it's just they would do trades on your behalf without asking you for confirmation or for approval. Passive's different in that we allow you to set a target portfolio, and then once your actual portfolio deviates or drifts from that target portfolio, we'll send you an email prompting you to log in and rebalance using our one-click trade functionality. So I would say the first difference is that you don't have to move your money anywhere to use Passive, and the second difference is that we don't automatically execute your trades. Instead, we just monitor your account and we calculate your trades, and when you have trades available and rebalance, then we will email you to log in and do it manually.
And so these are active trades. So you have several features. Passive has several features. One of those features and you touched on it, is that sets it apart is software sounds like a goal tracking. And so in order for it to track that my portfolio is off, it has a track, right? I have to set that up in the initial setup. What's that about, and how does that work? Do I set it? Does it give me averages of what the market's doing and gives me a recommendation? How does it work in that regard?
So our goal setting feature is simple but really powerful. So the way that it works is you log into Passive, you go to our goals page, and our goals are basically around having a certain amount of assets by a certain age. So as a really basic example, I'm 24 years old. If I had a goal that was I want to have $1 million invested in my Passive account by the time I'm 40, then that sounds like a great goal, right? So our goals feature will tell you how much you would need to contribute each month, given the rate of return that you expect to get. So as an example, it might say, okay, I assume a rate of return of 4%. How much do I need to contribute? It might tell you need to contribute $1,500 a month or whatever the number is. I'm just making that up. That's not an accurate calculation, but it'll tell you basically, if you type in the return that you expect to get, it'll tell you how much you need to contribute. And then once that's done, anytime you log into Passive, you can go to our goals page and see where you are on track to meet that goal. So, whether you're 5% done or 50% done. And this is kind of just the first, our goals feature is actually still in beta. It's something we recently launched, but our users seem to really like it. And we're planning on building out lots of additional kind of goal setting functionality moving forward. It's something that our users seem to have really enjoyed.
I think this users are really enjoyed it. I'm amazed by it because this is kind of like the next level. This is next level, not like you said, not robo advising where it does the work for you and completely removes you. It engages with you and to make sure that we are doing exactly what you want. Is that sound accurate?
Yeah, exactly. So with robo advisors, there's a large segment of people who use Passive, and one of the things they like about it is that you are actually still involved in all the trades you make. So Passive does all the legwork to make sure you're on track, but will still prompt you to actually take the action yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Please stay tuned. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. And we will be right back with Mr. Nick McCullum.
I'm Marcus Norman, bringing fresh vibes to hot topics surrounding culture, relationships, business, finance, sex, dating, faith, and everything in between. Whether you're into passive income opportunities, trending topics and useful relationship tips, or dynamic guest speakers, there's something for everyone. You can expect all that and more every week. If you're down with this content, then consider joining our growing community by subscribing to Gentleman Style Podcast and smash the bell to get on our VIP list. Your support means the world. Thanks for watching. Link to my channel.
Hey everyone, we are back for Gentleman Style Podcast, your host of the #1 podcast. We stream on live on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And we have the incredible Mr. Nick McCullum, and he is educating us on a new platform. This is groundbreaking technology, and we are actually getting an exclusive because I'm just realizing that this is still in beta testing. So we actually have an inside opportunity here to really take advantage of Passiv and how it works. If you are just tuning in, we have the incredible Mr. Nick McCullum, and he is spilling some great tea. Mr. Nick, we have a question from the audience. Miss Shenique Henry asks, how does it choose your investments for you?
That's a great question, Shenique, and I'll just address something you mentioned first, Marcus. So Passiv itself as a platform is not in beta. The only thing that's in beta is just our goal setting features. That's just a small portion of the whole app. The rest of the app's mature and reliable. Now, in terms of Shenique's question, how does it choose your investments? Passiv doesn't actually pick your investments for you. Instead, in order for you to be able to use the Passiv app, you have to, I guess, self-educate and be comfortable already picking your target portfolio. Once you've decided what you want to be invested in, Passiv is the tool that you can use to stay on track over time and make sure that you're really close to your target portfolio all the time. We'll monitor your portfolio regularly, and whenever you drift from where you want to be, that's when we'll send you email updates to log in and rebalance with our one-click trade functionality.
Absolutely. I hope that answers your questions. That definitely answers mine. Great question, Shenique. And so you touched on this earlier and you skimmed over it, but I really wanted you to dig a little bit deeper. You mentioned that one-click trade. How does that work? Does the software day trade for me? No, right? It still prompts me, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we do not, we do not day trade for you. We do not execute any sort of trades for you. Instead, what we do is once you set your target portfolio, we basically have a periodic robot that checks your account every day and compares it to your target portfolio of where you want to be. And then the user actually specifies something called a drift threshold. And your drift threshold is basically a number that you say, when my portfolio accuracy falls below my drift threshold, please email me. So as an example, if you had a portfolio that was 50% stock A and 50% stock B, and stock A went up and stock B went down, so that maybe now it's 60-40 or 70-30 or something like that, and your drift threshold was 95%, which means that you want to be emailed whenever your portfolio is less than 95% accurate. That's when Passiv would send you an email and say, hey, your portfolio has drifted. Please log in to rebalance with our one-click trade functionality.
Okay, and that makes perfect sense. Thank you for clearing me up right there. You brought me back to reality. So now you also you mentioned this as well. You have a drift notification. So how often are those notifications going to come? Are they going to come daily, weekly, monthly? How often those drift notifications occur? And can I control the amount of notifications I receive? Absolutely.
So we, as someone who gets spam email from time to time, just like you, I'm sure, we thought it was important to allow our users some way to control how much email volume they get from Passiv. And I mentioned earlier the ability to set a drift threshold. So that's kind of the lever that Passiv users can put up or down in terms of how much emails they want to get. If you set your drift threshold to 100%, you would get emails really frequently, because what you're basically telling the Passiv rebalancing engine is, I want you to email me whenever my portfolio accuracy is below 100%. So unless your portfolio was exactly perfect, you would get an email every day saying, please log in and rebalance. So our default drift threshold when a user first creates an account is 90%. I think that's kind of a level that a lot of users are comfortable with because it's pretty accurate, but it's not so high that you're constantly getting emails to log in and rebalance. And depending on the size of your portfolio and lots of other factors, you may want to adjust that number up and down.
Absolutely. That makes sense. And so you can control those drift notifications and you can really set the tone on how often you want to be notified. So that makes perfect sense. So if my level of comfortability is pushed, that's what they tell you, right? What are you comfortable whenever you're investing? What is your level of comfortability? Because stocks and trades go up and down all day long. And so that makes perfect sense. And that's alignment with traditional investing. What brokerage accounts does Passiv actually support or connect with? Is it going to work with my, TD Ameritrade account? Who does it link up with?
TD Ameritrade is actually a great example. So we are integrated with TD Ameritrade. We also have an integration with Interactive Brokers, with Tradier, and with Alpaca. And then in Canada, we have an integration with Questrade.
Perfect. So TD Ameritrade links up very well. And so it actually can sync up there and do the work for me. So help me understand, because I want to know, and I think my audience wants to know, how does Passiv help me make money? Where's the value in that aspect?
Yeah, so I would say Passiv as a tool, it's probably better described as helping people save time and money rather than make more money. And the way that we help people save time and money, the first is, I would say, let's just talk specifically about how we help you save time first, and then I can talk about how Passiv potentially helps you save money as well. So in terms of saving time, investing is important. It's a really core skill that most people should try to learn over time. But if you're not careful, investing can also be really time consuming because you're always checking your accounts, you're doing lots of investment research, and those sorts of things. And if that's something you're really passionate about, that's fine. But for a lot of people, finance and investing is not a real passion. It's just a necessity. It's something they need to do, but something they don't love to do. So for Passiv users, I think one thing they really like is that they can kind of put in the legwork up front to figure out their target portfolio, set it all up on Passiv. And then once that initial effort's done, Passiv really reduces the amount of time you have to spend managing your portfolio by sending you those drift notifications whenever you're off track. So that's kind of like how we use Passiv to help people save time. In terms of helping people save money, I would say that if you have a really sophisticated financial profile or really complicated needs in your financial life, working with a financial advisor can be a great option. But just like other well-educated professionals, financial advisors cost money and they're expensive. So yes. For many people, what they use their investment advisor for is two things. They use their investment advisor to decide what their investment portfolio should look like, and then they use their investment advisor to rebalance back to that desired portfolio over time. So to the extent that you feel comfortable selecting your initial target, selecting your initial target portfolio, you can actually use Passiv to kind of take over the traditional investment advisor's role of rebalancing it over time. So if you feel comfortable with that, if you feel like you can self-educate to the point where you can choose your own investments, then Passiv can kind of replace your investment advisor to the extent that they would have managed it over time. And I would say more broadly, we're big believers at Passiv in the power of education, in the power of kind of, I guess, empowering investors through education. So we have a blog and we have lots of free information on there that we try to help people to the extent possible handle their own investors. Our mission as a company is to make DIY investing accessible for everyone. So if you feel the desire or the willingness to manage your own portfolio, we hope that Passiv is kind of a good place for you to do that.
Absolutely. And that makes perfect sense. We are going to pay some bills, y'all. We are going to be right back. And Mr. Nick is, oh my gosh, he is absolutely incredible. And he's just dropping nuggets on this new platform. This platform sounds incredible in how it can keep your portfolio, your existing portfolio, brokerage account on track. We are going to be right back. Stay tuned, stay engaged, and we will see you soon.
Are you a local business looking to offer your customers easy access to cash without having to travel miles? We're here to help. At Norman Legacy Investments, we provide free ATMs with free installation that provide a suitable investment for your business. Even better, we offer you some profit sharing and handle everything from start to finish. Just reach out to us today to schedule a free consultation.
We are right back. This is Gentleman Style Podcast. Tuning in, and we have the Mr. Nick McCullum on talking about a unique software platform that is called Passiv, and this platform is helping investors manage their brokerage accounts and set up this kind of almost autopilot, but not autopilot, but setting up reminders so that our target investment can reach that satisfactory goal through goal tracking, one-click trades. And this is a powerful tool for, especially if you're a high net worth individual. We have a great question from Miss Shenique again. Is there a cost for Passiv?
That's a great question, Shenique. And just with the way the financial industry is set up, we want it to be really transparent and straightforward with our pricing. So there's two ways to use Passiv. We have a free version of Passiv, and that's called Passiv Community. And you can think of Passiv Community as basically read-only portfolio management. So Passiv Community is what you would want to use if you want Passiv to calculate all your trades for you. You want to set up a target portfolio and do all of the things that we've talked about. But Passiv Community won't actually execute your trades for you. If you do want to have that one-click trade functionality, then you would have to upgrade to Passiv Elite. Passiv Elite offers you one-click trades. It also offers you some of our other more sophisticated features like multi-account portfolios, the ability to connect to multiple brokerages. So let's say if you had some investments at TD Ameritrade and you had some investments at Interactive Brokers, and you want to use Passiv as a centralized place to manage both of those investment portfolios, then you would have to use Passiv Elite for that. So lots of more sophisticated features available on Passiv Elite, and that paid version is priced really simply. We wanted it to be really simple and easy to understand. It's just $99 a year, paid with your credit card.
Done. That's incredible. That's extremely affordable. So it helps you save time, like Mr. Nick said, and it helps you save money in the long term through keeping your target investment on track. So that's huge. I hope that answered your questions. Great question, Shenique. We have a second from Mr. Mike. I'm gonna call him Mike. What about bonds? Indonesia's BBB bond yields safe, easy cash, maybe. So that's a unique question. I think that's the platform. I don't think it deals with actually making recommendations, or does it, Mr. Nick? I don't think it does that. It just interesting.
Passiv as a company, we're not registered as an investment advisor or as a broker dealer or as a brokerage or any of we don't have any of the regulatory licenses that some of the more name brand financial institutions might have. So because of that, we can't really provide investment advice. But in terms of bonds on the Passiv platform, I will say it's not something we support trading of at this point. But yeah, something we're working on for the future.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And I hope that answers your question, Mr. Mike. Please tune in and come back with more questions. I have a question. How can Passiv help someone, for example, who's a real estate investor? And how can it help a small business owner?
Yeah, so I'll take those two questions, I guess, one by one. First, the small business owner, and then the real estate. So for a small business owner, Passiv doesn't really do small business accounting or any of the stuff that you'd actually need to help run your business. But we know just from talking to users and from our experience running a business and whatnot, that businesses are kind of designed to make profit, and that profit needs to be invested or stored somewhere. So for some people, that might be as simple as putting that cash into a business bank account and leaving it there. But lots of other small business owners and entrepreneurs want to actually invest their profits into some sort of long-term investment vehicle like stocks or bonds. And if you were to open a business brokerage account with TD Ameritrade or Interactive Brokers or any of our other supported institutions, then you could use Passiv to manage those investments, just like as if you were managing your own personal investments. So that's that. On the real estate side, Passiv doesn't support the ability to track real estate investments at this time. It's something we might revisit in the future, but if you wanted to track your stocks and ETFs on Passiv and then use some sort of other tool to track your real estate, that would be kind of a suitable approach there.
Absolutely. What if I have REITs in my portfolio in my Ameritrade account?
Yeah, if you had REITs, and for anyone who's unfamiliar with the term, REIT is just an acronym that stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. You can basically think of it as being pretty similar to a stock, but instead of owning a business, that stock actually just owns a bunch of real estate investments. So there's lots of real estate investment trusts or REITs that you could buy to get exposure to multifamily real estate or commercial real estate. There's all different REITs out there. So REITs are supported on the Passiv platform. And if you wanted to get your real estate exposure by owning REITs instead of by owning actual properties, then you could definitely use passive to help manage that investment.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. So you talked about getting the education beforehand, because you need to have the education before diving into any investments. No investment is safe. No investment is 100% protected. But what books would you recommend every man or woman should read to kind of start off baseline and get that education in investing?
Yeah, so I would say actually, in terms of learning how to invest today, I would probably not steer you to books immediately, although books are certainly useful. I think there's a lot of benefit that you can get by just reading the right resources on the internet. So I'm a big fan of the Bogleheads website. Bogleheads is kind of a silly name used to signify that website's inspired by John Bogle or Jack Bogle. So he's the founder of Vanguard, which is kind of the pioneer of the low-cost investing movement. The Bogleheads forum and community is essentially a group of passive or low-cost investors that are focused on kind of getting right ETF allocations and doing low-cost, long-term investing for the benefit of their own financial future. So the Bogleheads website is great. And then if you really are dead set on reading books about passive, low-cost investing, I would recommend The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John Bogle. He's the same guy that's from the Bogleheads website, like that the Bogleheads website is named after. He passed away in 2019, but the amount that he's kind of impacted the investing industry overall is pretty hard to overstate, I would say.
Awesome. That Mr. John Bogle, do you subscribe to the Motley Fool at all?
I don't subscribe to their page, but I'm familiar with the company. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. Just throwing that out there. I was curious if you did, as an additional reading. What is your favorite way to give back to the community?
Yeah, so I am a software developer, and Passiv is a software product, and software is kind of, to the extent that I've been able to do anything cool or interesting in my career, it's largely been because of like the ability to learn how to code. So I learned how to code using a free non-for-profit programming bootcamp down in the US called Free Code Camp. And the way Free Code Camp works is you can just go on their website, create a free account, and it'll walk you through all of these really easy coding challenges. It starts with really basic stuff and builds kind of more sophistication over time. So Free Code Camp is a great place to learn how to code if that's something you're interested in. And all of their curriculum and their website is all open source. So what that means is anyone who knows how to code can go onto their website and kind of make suggestions or make improvements to the website over time. So I'm a big believer in the Free Code Camp platform. They're a 501c3 not-for-profit, so I donate to them. And I think, I think they are a very good users of capital. They make the money go a long way when you donate. And I also think it's cool to kind of get back to their curriculum through the open source nature of their platform. So I would say Free Code Camp is kind of my favorite way to give back.
Absolutely. I love that. Have you been to Silicon Valley or anything? Google, work for Tesla up there?
I wish. No, I'm a big believer in kind of the power of starting businesses where you're from, and giving back to your local communities. So I've never really lived too far away than an hour from what.
That makes sense. That's perfect. And staying homegrown and staying in your local community and serving your community in the best way. This man has a heart of gold, y'all. This is incredible. What is the best way for my audience to connect with Passiv, connect with you, and get on board with this software? So
if you want to create a Passiv account and try us out for yourself, just go to our website. It's passiv.com, passiv.com. And so you'll just see in there's a sign up button, and you can go on and kind of create a passive. If you do decide you want to try the paid version, we have a satisfaction guarantee. So if you try it and you're not happy, just email us. There's a contact form within the app that you can use to email us, and we'll refund that, no problem, and probably ask you some questions about what we could have done better to make you satisfied as a passive user. So that's that. If you have any questions for me personally about the product, you just send me an email. My email is nick.mccullum@passiv.com. And I'd love to hear from anyone who listened to the show and kind of hear what you thought. If you have any questions about the product, or even if you'd like me to give you a little demo, I'd be happy to do that. Perfect.
So, Mr. Nick, I thank you for this. This is great information. You have inspired me and you have educated me. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to give back in this way. I consider this giving back. So you can add this to the list of ways you give back to your community. But I appreciate you. Absolutely. I hope this has served you. And I know it served me, and I know it served my audience, as you can see. Thank you all, my audience, for tuning in to this episode of Gentleman Style Podcast. Mr. Nick McCullum and the software passive. That is the future, y'all. That is the future. As we move into the 21st century, this is how we grow, and this is how we make wiser decisions with our money. So tune in, check him out, and check out this company that Mr. Nick is on board with, and he's a software developer for this company with, and they are changing the absolute game. So like I always say, my audience, thank you for tuning in today. Thank you, Mr. Nick. And like I always say, take care of your families, take care of your homes, and take care of business. This is Marcus Norman from Gentleman Style Podcast and Mr. Nick from passiv.com signing off. Love you guys. Bye.